brought to you by Knights of Awakening. This is the Labyrinth. And this is the review of Panty Gate. We'll call it Panty Gate 2.0. The reason I am doing this video is to create a statement of facts for the Norse and Asatru community to help understand better what has occurred. Now, while at some point I likely had access to all of these facts, they weren't present in my mind when I did the video. And I'm going to hit on that. I did not have the original post in front of me, though I was there when the joke was being created and come up with. And I didn't know the full wording that was going to go into it. Even though I had heard the wording, I hadn't realized that that was going to be right on that post. So that said, looking this over, I want to say to the community of TAC that I've sent in an email, actually 2 emails, to address this. The initial one before I had the rest of this information. And now this video now. And with that, my own part in this, I feel that TAC needs to be a bit more, what can we say, transparent in their actions with this. And by that, I mean it is necessary for TAC to function, for it to keep a record of what has occurred whenever any kind of decision like this has been made or is being made. And because such a record doesn't exist, even someone who was to some degree in the middle of it when it went down doesn't always have all the information. I've had information brought to me and had people's opinions addressed about this to me and the nature of it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to provide a record of that information. And my suggestion to the TAC officials is for them to likewise provide records of the information, because otherwise, on the one hand, you have a TAC statement without no other information. It sounds like they're labeling Asbjorn Torvol as a pedophile or worse. And for those that only know that it had something to do with panties, it makes TAC look overreacting and unable to deal with the fallout from a very simple joke, when the truth is somewhere in the middle. Not that either of them are that bad, but that there's another truth that falls outside this data, and you need all of the data to really see it. So that's what I'm here to do, is to create that record and to clear up, my own stance on this. First of all, I don't find the joke particularly overly funny. It was worth a chuckle the first time it's heard, but not really a big chuckle. Second, I don't find it particularly that offensive initially. And that's how I view it. It's not going to offend me. There's not much you're going to be able to do to say, well, you should be offended by this, that's going to make me personally feel offended. I will say that the way Asbjorn Torvol handled it after the fact could have been better. And I'm sure he'll disagree with me on this, because I did contact him before making this video, because I'm not going to spring a surprise on someone that I consider a friend. He knows the contents of what this video will be, and he's got a pretty good idea what I'm going to say. And I told him, I said, I'll be addressing all of this in the video. This is not a jab at him in any way. So, what was brought to my attention, the very first thing was a screenshot of the whole panty post right here, which I printed out to make it easier to read and access for this. And the very first thing we should do is look at what was said there. It says, for all the girls getting wet over my new book release, you can find a new pair of undies right here that are perfect for any occasion. On the front, it says, stay true and stay awesome. And on the ass side, it says, they don't call me divine for my height. This is the next hit in fashion, so don't miss out. Make sure every time he eats you out, he knows to stay true and stay awesome. Okay. This was not overly offensive to me, because at no point was it a joke that treated women as only sex objects. It does discuss sexuality and sex actions. At no point does it really hit on anything that is excessively perverse, from my point of view at least. But it does discuss the topic of sex, which is a sensitive topic, and a lot of people can't have that discussed or won't have it discussed, or it just instantly creates offense. And I understand that. The initial post itself was not the worst of this. You could make the statement that it is lewd, and it is lewd. And you would not see it pop up on my business page, nor would you see it pop up on Knights of Awakening as a page. Nor would you expect to see it more than likely on my personal page. That, well, maybe. But if it did, the next part of what this gets into is what really has been getting people contacting me on this. And that's that while, yes, he did address his official response to this in video, and he responded under it directly, sometime after that, I don't know if it was hours or a day, but he made a post that said, "It's a joke, not a dick. Don't take it so hard." This was the nail, or I suppose the dick in his coffin at that point on this, in that at that phase, he appears, no matter what his intent is, to be mocking those or tearing into those in some way that he doesn't agree with their position on this. I've told him that that was really his biggest mistake in my view of all this. I do feel he should be able to make whatever kind of jokes he wants to on his personal page, but I also understand as a public figure that's going to have backlash. And as soon as the complaints came in, anything he did to address it was going to be taken as an address from the Director of Religious Affairs of TAC. And, you know, that's how life is. Once you start addressing a complaint, people expect that you address that in the capacity of the position, whatever that position may be. That I address here and now on that. And I make no bones at all that he was in the right in the way he did that, or that he was necessarily in the wrong. With that, I can understand why TAC voted the way they did. I can understand why they removed him from their board, removed him from his position. Or I could also say I understand why he stood down, because he technically stood down at the same time that they were having the vote. So that should be addressed as well. Those are your facts of the situation. That is how this went down. And again, I didn't address it with all of the information prevalent. And while my last video was humorous and joyous to watch, it probably painted a one-sided picture of this that in retrospect, not going to say I'm not proud of it. It was a damn good video. But I would like to clarify the information, because I feel that truth, transparency, and understanding are part of what it means to be a Knight of Awakening and bringing these things to light. And I might not have done the video the way I did it had I looked over the original post like this and went in, you know, with this as what was on my mind. Instead, I was going under what a lot of people had went under, which was, he posted something about a pair of panties and people went nuts. And more over it than anything, what I had initially visually on my mind, because it was what I had seen with my eyes, not just what I had heard over a chat, which the way my brain processes information, if I see it with my eyes, it takes a different intonation than if I just hear it, especially with all the things I'm doing at any one point, even when I'm talking to someone. What I had was just the image of the panties at the time, and that's what I was defending, was that if this is what's going to upset people as a slogan on a set of panties, then they need to get over themselves. And I still stand by that. And I'm actually going to stand by his right to speak on his own wall. The comment that came after, as I've said before, was definitely not his wisest movement. And it's definitely part of why I've got to believe TAC removed him. I think TAC needs to be more transparent on this. I think TAC has a wonderful opportunity to move the Norse in a positive direction if they are transparent, if they are focusing on this. And my hope is that the emails I've sent and that what others may be emailing or sending them will cause them to. And if not, maybe this video, someone there will see it and they'll go, you know, I hadn't thought about it like that. If we don't provide a record, then we're just saying, hey, we did this and we have our reasons. And you can't do that and call yourself transparent. You just can't. Now I'm going to hit on the last part of this little panty debacle. The hate train that has built up. A definite intention by a group of people was there to tear into anything they conceivably could about this to aim at Asbjorn Torvol. That much is also obvious by any screenshots you get of conversations and comments. While people are bringing me screenshots that show me what he said or references to what he said where they don't have the screenshot of the dick comment, in those same screenshots, I have countless amounts of information being said where they're just tearing into him nonstop. And a lot of people don't like this guy. And his response to his haters was not his brightest moment. But there is one other point I'm going to hit on, as this is a Knights of Awakening video. I want to hit on that, had this been male's underwear, this wouldn't have happened. If this was talking about men, no one would have cared. No one would have gotten offended. Or if they did, they'd have gotten offended for other reasons. If this said, for all the guys who are getting a boner over my new book release, you can find a new pair of boxers right here. I am sure some kind of anti-gay hate speech thing would come up, you know, and someone would be like, how dare you support, you know, gays and this, that, and the other. And in the same breath, well, how dare you talk about boners and all of this other stuff that apparently you can't talk about on the internet. No. I do believe he has the right to speak on his wall. I won't say I agree with TAC's decision. I do not agree with their decision. But I understand it well enough not to begrudge them the decision when all of the information is present. What I don't agree with is not getting that information in a spot and making it public record, because that's what you've got to do. It's called a system of justice. And either you're focusing on justice or you're not. So that's my stance on this. To be very fair, all sides in this made some major mistakes. I am sure that no one's going to like to hear that at all. No one likes to know when they messed up. So for my part, I messed up. I should have gotten all of the information. True, I didn't realize that I was lacking information. True, I may have even had the information and overlooked it because of not realizing all of the context of things that occurred. But regardless, it's on me to set the record straight for the Labyrinth, for the Knights of Awakening, because I'm the one who did that video. I'm the one who did the Panty Gate one. And it is up to me to then present this as a record of fact, at least for Knights Awakening's purposes. That is my part on this. And I'm hopeful that this helps TAC in some way. To finish this, what I'm going to ask all members who are Norse or part of the Astrotrue community or part of TAC in any capacity, encourage your leaders, your group leaders, be it TAC or anywhere else, to be transparent and to provide this kind of information when an event happens so that it is a matter of record, so there is no confusion as to why something is done. Provide the reasoning. Don't just say, we did this and all parties agreed. It makes it sound so much worse. It really does. Because for anyone who had a little bit of the story from Asbjorn's side of it, it sounds like he posted a pair of panties and that was it, with a picture with a slogan on it. And a group of people blew up about it, and TAC said, well, you're done. For the people who are just hearing the TAC side of it, it makes Asbjorn sound like, I don't know, a perverted Catholic priest of the Norse persuasion, if that makes any sense, and that he's doing some god-awful thing that I don't even want to think about, and certainly don't want to mention on a KOA program. When you don't have all the information on something, it makes it really easy to look one way or another. And my hope is this video gets people to think about that. My hope is that it sets the record straight. I'm not taking the other video down because, number one, it's a damn fine piece of video. It's funny. It's there. And without it, this video doesn't make very much sense at all. So that's where I'm at. That's my stance on it. I don't hold anything against anyone in any of this. And I've said where I stand on it. I didn't find the joke particularly funny or particularly offensive. Very little like that offends me. Would I have posted on my wall? I might have, but I would have handled the fallout differently, that's for sure. If I had posted on my wall, I don't know. It would have been different. It would have been my brand of humor and not his. And my brand of humor is sometimes a little bit more subtle than his in some ways, and sometimes a bit more in your face. And that is what it is. So, you take that for what it's worth. I'm certainly not going to defend him against what TAC has done, because I get why they're doing what they did. At the same time, I feel TAC really needs that transparency. I feel all organizations need transparency in that respect. If it is an organization and it decides to impeach a member or any form of decisions made about one of its members, records need to be kept and they need to be made publicly available as to the proceedings and as to what was said and why. That is how we handle things with law and justice and order. And without that, it's people with power making a decision. If Asbjorn Torvol had been a minor, and this had been a matter of record for an underage person, as him as an underage person, which he is not, but if he had been, then the secrecy would be warranted and understood. Otherwise, the way information is being presented was not in accordance with transparency. And I hope, and I choose to believe, and I want to believe, that that will be corrected in some capacity, and it won't be just my video that corrects it. But you ultimately have the power to make that decision. If you're watching this and you're a member of TAC, or you're on the board, you have the power to make this decision, and this is a heartfelt plea, and this is not an attempt to leverage anything. The only thing I would ask the members to do is to discuss it with their board members. You know, don't take hasty actions, and certainly don't do anything that's going to cause any issues at this point, but do discuss it if you feel that it does need a degree of transparency. Maybe they can't do anything about it now. Maybe the records are gone for them, but certainly they can make a statement that they will in the future keep records and keep them publicly available in situations like this. Maybe you can't change what happened yesterday, but you can certainly change what will happen tomorrow, and that's the nature of moving forward with anything. A knight seeks the truth in all things. And to be Norse means to be bold, means to be empowered. It means to look at things from a point of view of deep honor and respect, but also boastfulness and humor. And our people were not lacking in their boastfulness. They were not lacking in their boldness in any capacity. But they held to a concept that truth and dignity meant something. And that's what I'm trying to preach here, because my goal still remains to help you awaken the knight within.